I said we'll be there at the end of the day, and as usual, the builders come the last. Whatever be the delay in the placement of a contract, we must deliver on time. So that's essentially where, without spending any more time at the beginning, I'll take a couple of minutes to sum up. But I must say, I would say, good people on the panel. I know at least these two. Biju, I know for quite some time. Of course, Commander Nathan works with me for nearly about 22 years now. People who are established in the industry, we've done a lot in their careers. Read little more about Jitesh. Man who genuinely stayed for a long years outside the country. So it would be something very interesting to hear his views in terms of what he's actually accomplished and outside, trying to bring a lot of those ideas right into the potential gap. So with that, the first speaker for the session is Commander Nathan.
Good evening, everybody. As you are nearing the end of the day, I'll make it light with more pictures and less words. We'll be covering two major aspects of modern shipbuilding, modular construction. If you look at it simplistically from a business point of view, we are worried about three aspects. Cost should be within the cost, there should be good quality and delivery within the time. There are two major aspects which enable us, in our experience, one is modular construction and digital techniques. If you look at the modular construction, what happens in this is, as against the normal construction where you make the whole hull as a single piece and then start putting all the equipment, system runs, integrate everything. Here what we do is, the ship is divided into modules, as you can see here at the bottom, and these are the modules, various modules, and you start outfitting these modules as they stand alone. So the access is very high, and you can do simultaneous construction of all the modules at the same time. So once you have done maximum pre-outfitting and start assembling the mega blocks together, and then finally you do the ship assembly. This is in simple the modular construction. It starts right from the design stage. When you are designing itself, you should be careful that you are going to do a modular construction. So accordingly, ensure that there are not much of cross runs across the blocks, and see that everything is as much as possible self-contained, so that when you have integrated, your work reduces. The size of the blocks is usually decided by the shop size and the gradient. Go for the maximum possible. We usually do up to 400 tons at least as single modules. We must maximize pre-outfitting at the module level. That is the only reason for completion of modular construction well within that time. So very good access is there, and quality outfitting can be done. That we should make full use of it. And obviously minimize the outfitting post-launch. Just do the least possible. So modular construction enables ease of access for outfitting, simultaneous work on all the fronts, and improves the quality and cuts down significantly the cycle time for construction. Now let's move to the digital techniques, what we usually employ. If you see, there has been a tremendous growth in various IT technologies, be it big data, analytics, Internet of Things, cloud computing, cyber security, robots, digital twin, additive manufacturing, and so on. As a whole, a number of techniques and tools have been developed, which have been applied for industry for enhancing productivity. It's called Industry 4. And when applied to shipbuilding, it's called Shipbuilding 4. In Shipbuilding 4, what we do is, you run a single digital core and try to integrate all functions related to shipbuilding. Right from design, production, planning, supply chain, quality, F&A, HR, be it any department, that all are integrated together. So there has to be a digital strategy which is applicable to the organization for doing this, and also ensure that while you are integrating vertically all the functions, you also horizontally integrate the customers and the vendors. I'll just give one example of this digitization and digitalization, what Professor Krishna also was talking about. And just let's take the case of welders. So when the welding is taking place, capture all the data, be it welder, its qualification, its rate of welding, number of defects, weld consumables, environment, so on and so forth. And then get into analysis. You should look at what is the welder efficiency, welding defect analysis across the projects. Is the same type of happening, emerging failure patterns, what it is, institute remedial measures, and take learnings to other projects, and a number of other analysis can be done. So the basic mantra is digitize, digitalize, keep on capturing data as much as possible. As we said earlier, there should be a single data code, digital code. In our case, we have taken ERP as a digital code, and the design. We have been doing digital design, digital twin, all these things for the past 22 years. And he's quite experienced in this. So the digital design is carried out, 3D modeling, production drawings are generated from the 3D modeling, BOM, specs, statement of technical requirements, everything gets generated from that. And then that is passed on through, in our case, through PDM or PLM as applicable to the ERP. This single digital code gets connected to all the functions, supply chain, project management, production, quality, and EHS. And then in turn, the same data gets used in their respective functions. So you see how the whole thing is integrated right from design up to delivery. That is the advantage of shipbuilding 4 techniques. Just a few examples I'll keep giving. Usually what happens is the early start doesn't work well. You need to ensure that there is a full kitting when you start a job so that you can quickly finish it. So if you see here, when the design issues of production activities, what is required to be done, the activity codes, planning also gets involved and gets the activity codes. Then when it goes to that, automatically few checks are carried out. Is the drawing available? Is the material available? Is the predecessor activity completed? Then only release work authorization. Then it goes to production, and then automatically it goes to quality for carrying out quality checks. So these systems are inbuilt into the process so that every day you don't have to keep on inserting or manually seeing it. Quality assurance, when it comes, further drilling it down, what we do is, when you have issued the work authorization, the related quality control protocols are also automatically released. There is no need for separate things. So that also gets released, the relevant instructions to them get released. And then when they offer for this production offers for quality, the quality comments both internally as well as from the third party, it could be class, everything gets integrated, and then the remarks management is carried out, further studied, analyzed, and then you carry out, what is severe, most severe or less severe, what kind of remarks and what kind of remedial actions should be taken. So all we are saying is end-to-end start digitalizing and integrating it. Once you have collected for example, the hull defects, then start analyzing it in various formats. It could be cause-wise defects, is it a lack of fusion, is it a slag inclusion, what is it, or any other cause, year-wise defects, project-wise defects. Is it happening in a particular project? Is it happening in a particular scenario? Is it a specific type of a defect? You can analyze in a number of manners. I'm only giving examples here. The progress monitoring is very, very important. Just take one example. Let's say take the case of piping. You start compiling the data on how many spools you completed correction, how many spools you completed flashing, how many you pressure tested, how many small bore pressures pressure tested. All this collected, and then with the weighted number, you try to examine how much is the piping progress made. Similarly, for all aspects of production, be it cabling, installation of equipment, painting, or any other thing, you get all the aspects numbered, and then you collect together what is the progress made, and then you make composite production progress. When this composite production progress is made, it's easy for the management to make out where we are lacking. Are we requiring contingency measures to be instituted, or what else can be done into this? And there's a very good warning to them that yes, I need to take action like this. Right from the floor, it has gone to the top management in a simplified format, how much he is ahead or back or what is the problem. Supply chain management is a very important function, and number of them can be automated once you have digitalized. It could be the purchase request, material request, warehouse update, management information, inventory status tracking, warm comparison, stock location tracking, and so on. So many functions, all these are automated, and you get a number of FAS reports on each and every aspect of this. We also have an elastic search engine. What it means is it need not be in a database form where the data resides and you can search for a particular item which was used in a particular project or across projects. It could be any of the unstructured data also. Like it could be an email, it could be images, PDF, shared folders, Word, or anything. So it's an elastic engine, irrespective of what form it is, whether it is structured data like a database or unstructured data, you still get all the details of each and every component you used in the shipbuilding in a particular project, across projects, across anything. One more important aspect of the digital management is that you must have an efficient project management system which is very, very tightly integrated. Generally, what we see in the human behavior is there will be a tendency to build buffer whenever you ask a person how many days it will take. Statistics may prove it is 1 day, but he'll still give 3 days. You would like to keep some buffer with him. And then, obviously, the work expands to fill the time available. You definitely go to 3 days. And what will also happen is a student syndrome, where despite the 3 days, the work will get done in the last day. So, these are natural behavior of the human beings. Similarly, people will start early, saying that I'm starting the job. There will not be the requisite equipment or the drawings or the items, anything. So that kind of a thing is a false start. Similarly, the myth of multitasking. So understanding all this, use a very good project management program and tightly integrate it with your digital code. Safety is extremely important. Shipbuilding is inherently unsafe for a simple reason. You work in heights, you work with very heavy weights. So we conduct a lot of things like safety drills, behavior safety, shop floor briefings, and so on and so forth. But more important is collect all the data and analyze it in all forms. Is it happening at a particular time of the day? Is it like 3 to 6 p.m. more accidents are taking place, or 9 to 12 a.m. more accidents are taking place, or which particular trade is facing accidents, and that kind of an analysis, or month-wise, is any particular month, it could be a very, very hot month or a very cold month, is it causing kind of a thing? Body part-wise, is it that eye accidents are more, or hand accidents? Typically, that's what is really more in shipyards. And similarly, category-wise, near means or fire or anything. So analyze all this so that you can take remedial actions and improve the safety standards, which is very, very important the moment we get into global comparisons. Finally, we need to care for the environment. That's another important thing when we talk about global shipbuilding competitiveness. Usage of sustainable energy, occupancy sensors, recycling water, rainwater harvesting, increasing the green belt, and all this. How it gets digitally connected, everything here can be digitally monitored, and you can keep on increasing your target. Yes, I'm going to have at least 90% of sustainable energy. Next time, 95%. Like that, you can keep setting records, targets, and the people start working on it. So, overall, if you see, shipbuilding 4 or digital techniques, if you see, there's no limit to digitalization. It's only limited by the mindset or our power of thinking. So priority should be given for digital tools to address the pain areas. Thereafter, we need to look at other areas so that over the years you develop a total digital solution for this. And relatively, it is inexpensive to implement, but it needs a commitment from top management. That drive from the top management is very essential. So, gentlemen, with these two powerful approaches, that's a modular construction which provides fast and ease of construction, and digital tools which enable effective monitoring and automated checks. Both of them together, they will make the yards highly competitive, ensuring that the projects are delivered on time, within the cost, and with very good quality. Thank you very much.
I will only add that we were surprised because we got some very serious global competition, and I'll talk about it in the seminar. We realized our safety records are 7 times better to US yards. It is 3 times superior to British yards. There's not a single accident. We are a Golden Sport winner of British Safety Council. We say that we just decided in 1992, and I've been precise, we'll shift to digitalization. There's absolutely no shortcut. The moment you have transparency of data, the data bites you, and you have to take action because you want to look yourself in a mirror in a better way. So that's only trick, which essentially makes you completely competitive and different. And that's essentially where, after delivering 71 vessels to the men in white, they still deliver ahead of time. I think I'll come to Biju little later because Ritesh is supposed to be leaving on a relief flight. So I need to release him in the next 15 minutes. And of course, we'll have question answers for his part. And then he can go for his flight. His flight is at 7.
Moderator, and distinguished speakers and audience. Warm good evening to all of you. I think we have been hearing same issues. I think some of the slides may be repetitive, so I will not be going into detail on that because all of us know the issues were same, policies and all were discussed in detail. So only thing different will be we had been discussing more about defense ships, and Kochi shipyard was a commercial shipyard. We came into naval ships because of the aircraft carrier, because of our infrastructure we had that we got the aircraft carrier, and we construct that and deliver it September 2002. So I will be talking more about the commercial shipbuilding issues, and the topic today is India's hub for niche commercial shipbuilding. The topic is very relevant at this time because we are, as we speak, there are a lot of changes, and the trends, the shipbuilding trends are also changed because of the search of alternate fuels and technologies. Yeah, so that's the brief I'll be, but I think most of this I'll be skipping. So the idea is look at the shipbuilding scenario and what are the changes happening and whether we are able to catch up with those technologies and can we score this space. Just a glance on CSL. CSL, I hope you know that we are celebrating 50 years now this year. That's India is celebrating 75 years. We have got total of around 8,000 footfalls and permanent employees around 1,076. And we have got 4 divisions, basically shipbuilding, ship repair. CSAS is a new division which is created, that is Cochin Shipyard, Strategic and Advanced Solutions, and then this is for a training institute, engineers training institute. And the past few years, last 3 years or so, we have expanded to other areas also, east and west. We have got now total 7 setups. Mainly in the east, we have taken up HCSL, which is for the inland vessels, and this one in Udupi, UCSL in Malpe, that is the old Tebna shipyard. That is mainly concentrating on tugs and small vessels less than 90 meters. Others are ship repair units in Cochin as well as, and also in Cochin, we have got now dry dock coming up about 310 meters. So that also will enhance the shipbuilding. Yeah, there was some in the first session there was questions around about exporting ships to outside India. So I thought I will answer that in my session. So that's on that also. We have exported around 50 ships to Europe, USA, mainly Norway and Denmark. So bulk carriers also were exported to Clipper Group. So these are some of the commercial ships we have delivered. Supply vessels also we have delivered to Norway. And yeah, IAC, we all know, September 2nd was the commissioning for that. And delivering ships to exporting orders, one of the main things which we need to look at is the quality. They were looking at the accommodation quality, the people, the standard of living, all those are different from what we normally see here. So we had tie-up with the Norwegian and European vendors for accommodation. We had Maritime 1 year. They have already set up a Kochi shipyard. So we are doing the accommodation modules through them, and for electrical packages, and we had Ward Electron. They also had a setup in Kochi. So these kind of collaborations has helped us to deliver quality ships, which is very important for the European market. So just to see the global shipbuilding industry scenario, it is cyclical. So it is after the COVID, we see there is a even though it is in a contraction phase, but we see there is going up. So we hope it's going up, and whether we are able to tap that, that's what we need to see. And China, Korea, and Japan, they have grown from 5 to 6% to in late 2000 to 25 to 30%. They have captured the shipbuilding market. So that is still going. We are, as we have seen, only maybe around less than 2% still in the overall market. So that we have seen, we've discussed that in detail in the morning sessions also, mainly because of they have policies which have covered them to go to that level. I'm not going into the detail of that. And the Indian shipbuilding industry, we have 35 shipyards. So we have a strong, out of that, some are not operational now, but still we have a strong shipbuilding experience, which we can tap for the upcoming rising trend in the commercial shipbuilding. One of the things which we that also slightly touched upon in the morning session was even though we have incentivization and everything there in place, but the problem we have is our productivity, the man-hours per CGT is more, so the productivity is less, even though the labor rate is very low compared to China and Korea, compared to Korea and Japan. So ultimately, we are back around 20%. That gap is still there with China, Korea, and Japan. So that is what we are looking at the gap funding, maybe from government. So that is one of the issue we are facing. So here we can see the productivity they increase with automation and other improvement in digital technologies. So that is yet to happen here in India. Yeah, we had around 300,000 in GTs into 2000, but that has gone down to 30,000 GT only in 2020s. But in Korea and China, they have gone up very much, 30 to 35% of the global market. Sorry, okay. I think basically these policy measures were discussed. We know Maritime Vision 2030, Gati Shakti, and Pradhana Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, and Atmanirbhar Bharat. All these things I just want to touch upon, but I think all these are all of you are aware, and we had discussed this. So all these policies are in place to promote our shipbuilding industry in India. And there was some policy which has come up recently for chartering tugs in Indian ports should be Indian built. So that is also come up. So these are all policies which help us to improve the shipbuilding market in India. So what I was trying to touch on was mainly because of the emerging trends, the niche shipbuilding, whether we can tap on that. That is one of the things I wanted to cover. So mainly the technologies, what we were, the diesel engines which we were using is on challenge because of the IMO greenhouse gas emission requirements. The target is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions to 50% of 2008 by 2050. So it's a big challenge. In order to reach that target, still nobody knows what is the single solution, what is the fuel which we need to go for. Everybody is looking at number of fuels: solar, hydrogen, LPG, LNG, ammonia, methanol, wind. Wind itself, there are so many. So all these mix is being tried. A lot of research is happening. A lot of pilot projects are happening. So the majority of some of these are good, but many of this is still in trial phase. For solar, it's only feasible for smaller ferries and inland ferries. Madam was telling today morning as because in Cochin we have got a solar ferry operating, but so for some cases this will be good, but some other like long endurance vessels we cannot go for a solar, or even for battery, very difficult. So what in the future it could be a mix of all these things. So the technologies of all these need to be addressed, and there is going to be a big challenge in technologies, and whether we will be able to because in Europe and Norway, especially in Norway, these technologies are being tried. LNG we have not tried, but in Europe they have changed from LNG to already they have gone to the other. They started removing LNG. So some of the technologies we have not seen, but at least whether we will be able to catch up and utilize this in our shipyards here. That's what I would like to cover. So as I said, the seaboard forecast is going up. So this exponential growth plus the change in technology, there is definitely the commercial shipbuilding. There is going to be a lot of special ships coming up. There is a lot of market in Europe. That is definitely there. So how do we get that? So that question was asked in the morning. So what we need to see there is, I'll come to that maybe towards the end. Yeah, some of the technologies I'll just touch upon. The solar boats. This, as I said, only for short duration ferries. This is now found feasible, even though the efficiency of solar cells has gone up, but still not viable for long duration vessels. Other technologies like wind sails technology is coming up, but that also will not answer our question for long duration. This will cover only very few auxiliary power. There is wind guide technologies, which will also only cover only very maybe a very partial amount of for the auxiliary flows. Wind rotor technologies based on the rotary effect, there could be some energy which can assist the propulsion as well as during the auxiliary power. So all these are being tried, but none of this. So what I mean to say is the technologies are being tried. There are a lot of technologies coming up, and trials are happening. But none of this is proven to be the single solution for the coming future technologies. Battery. One of the audience was asking about batteries. Can we go for batteries? Why don't we try batteries? Batteries, of course, there are a lot of technologies available. NMC batteries, LFP batteries, NCA batteries, LTO batteries, all has got different applications. For example, LTO is used for very fast charging case. If you need a very fast charging requirement, you need to go for a LTO, but the cost is high and safety case is also very good. But the problem is, again, this is you cannot carry that much of amount of battery on board the vessel. Suppose you have a bulk carrier or a cargo carrier, but we cannot provide that much of to cross the ocean. That much of battery cannot be on board the vessel. For example, we have delivered recently few vessels to Kochi Metro. Those are battery powered. The endurance for that is only 1 hour. 1 hour you have to have 120 kilowatt hour battery on board. So it's 15 minutes charging afterwards, then it will go for another 1 hour. So these are all for specific cases. Batteries may be applicable and it is good, but it's not a single solution. Next one, the world is looking at is definitely hydrogen fuel cells. This could be one of the future technology. Maybe even for long duration, long endurance vessels also. With hydrogen, you can with the proton exchange membrane or with solid oxide technologies, you can have fuel cells and green power generator on board the ship. Ammonia. Ammonia is also one of the potential fuel, but I see personally maybe this could be the future fuel because ammonia is the systems are known to everyone and it is being handled in ports, and that has got NH3 has got 3 hydrogen molecules, so that with that in the liquid state you will be able to carry in a much better way. So that ammonia could be a very potential future fuel for the alternate fuels. But the problem is we don't have an ammonia engine developed until now. That is, trials is also going on in Europe. Lothal and MAN is trying out their engines with ammonia. That could be, we are looking at maybe by 2025 sometime only we will have these engines coming into production. So based on, okay, so some of the projects which we have done, as I explained, this is the Kochi Metro project. So this was a high-end vessel which we should look at it with the technology of battery and hybrid technology. The vision from Kochi Metro was to have the backwaters connectivity through boats powered by green power. So that was the vision, and with that 23 boats were ordered to CSL, and we have delivered 5 of that. So that is with the LTO batteries, and this has got DG also on board. In case they need to boost up the power from 8 knots to 10 knots, they can use the battery. They can use the DG. So that DG is it can be used either to boost up or in case of redundancy also. And the batteries are charged from solar grid. And the interior is exactly similar to the Kochi Metro or the metros what you see. And of course, reduction in CO2 with these boats are significant. And it is considered to be the largest fleet of electric ferries, that is 23, plus they are coming up with another 30 ferries, and total maybe around 78 electric ferries will be there. And this one, I'm not sure whether you are aware of, there is an autonomous vessel which was constructed and delivered to Norway recently. Today, as we speak, the christening ceremony of this one is happening in Norway. But as you all know, the autonomy part is the core part which the Norwegians or now they won't give it to us. That is still with them. So these are the part which we need to look at it, whether we will be able to excel in that. So we have done the battery and the fit for and ready for autonomy, and the vessel was taken from here to Norway in a heavy lift carrier. So based on these two projects, battery-driven and autonomous vessels, CSL has initiated 2 pilot projects so that we can have indigenous technology in-house developed. So this is a fuel cell pilot project which we are doing right now, similar to which Kochi Metro project. This boat we are converting to a fuel cell boat with the hydrogen cylinders on board and fuel cells technology from a company called the Indian company, and IRS is a partner in tool development. So with the IRS and we are developing this pilot project. The delivery is sometime scheduled sometime October 2023. And another one we are looking at is a pilot project for autonomous vessels. The small pilot, small autonomous project, small autonomous vessel. That is also the autonomy technology from Indian company, and involving NSTL, DRDO, NSTL, and model testing and mathematical modeling, everything to be done at NSTL. So these are the 2 pilot projects which we are thinking of. No, we have started this, and this is also in the process of design development. So, so now we have seen the shipbuilding scenario is going. Shipbuilding industry is going up, market is going up. Plus, there is a lot of technologies going up. So we need to, what all things we need to focus. So this was discussed in the morning. Equipment, we lack in equipment suppliers, cost, competitiveness, and R&D projects, R&D facilities, basic design and R&D facilities, and executing pilot projects. This is one of the important things for all these technologies. Generally, we will be in the forefront of such technologies, and improving operation excellence, like my previous speaker, Commander Nathan said, Industry 4.4 and Digital 4.1 and operation excellence through digitization. So those are the things which we need to look at. And of course, financing for the capex. Thank you. And I would like to just touch upon that answer question which was asked in the morning, why there was not exports. So as I said, CSL being a commercial yard, we got that opportunity. We had compared to naval shipbuilding, the commercial shipbuilding is different, because naval shipbuilding, it is mostly concurrent design. So we have to keep up with the technology. So there will be design parallelly going on along with the construction time. But in case of commercial, most of the orders go for standard, proven, and well-established designs. And we were fortunate to get good projects in early 2000s because of the peak during the offshore period. That time we got PSPs constructed in about 35 PSPs constructed in Kochi. And most of this, the problem what we will be facing is the procurement issues we face here. We don't have these OEMs and ancillary industries to support this. So in order to do this kind of business, we should have ancillary industries and OEMs here. So these kind of projects come with the with the equipment packages. So that is one of the things.
I invite questions because he needs to be moving out if there's something specific.
Thank you for remaining this. Yes. So that is, and I would like to thank IMF for inviting us for this seminar session. I'm open for questions now. I would take permission to leave the session after this because I have to catch a flight at 7 o'clock. I said yes.
No questions. So I must thank Jitesh Chandra for bringing out very lucidly in terms of some of the new concepts on powering, and that's essentially where we believe the commercial shipbuilding industry truly can make a lot of difference. Of course, many of these solutions may not be as relevant to the naval shipbuilding, but that's essentially going to be extremely important. Looking at what we are going to be talking about by 2050 in terms of cleaning the earth. Now, on that note, let me say thank you.
Thank you
once again.
Thank you, sir.
He also touched upon one very important point, and I want to highlight it before he leaves. Very little today has been spoken on the unmanned aspect of the Navy. That's something which all of us believe, and today there's huge amount of work happening on the unmanned, and since there is no specifically focused agenda on it, I can tell you Lasatupro today has at least a dozen products ready on unmanned, surface vessel, underwater, and varieties of those. So we are not really touched upon that aspect, but that's an aspect which becomes extremely important going forward, because it essentially makes your ship now much larger beyond your normal range and your arm's way, because you're going to be seeing how much away from you, keeping it much more away from you. And those are technologies which essentially are going to mean a lot of difference in terms of what he touched upon very rightly. Thought I must highlight that before he moves on. Thank you, Jitesh.
Thank you, sir. Since Mr. Jitesh is leaving a little, I request him to accept firstly the memento, the salver on behalf of CSL as a sponsor, and also a memento as a speaker. I request the President IMF to can be present.
I would like to convey apology from Dr. Harikrishnan. Actually, he was supposed to attend this seminar, but he was tested positive, so I am present half of him. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure to introduce Biju George. Of course, I don't think he really needs an introduction in this forum, but notwithstanding, a man who's truly risen from the ranks, all of us at Lasatupro actually cherish people of this time. Join as trainees and virtually grow to the board. So that's essentially where I see another example at Madgaon Dock, and that's precisely what Biju George is, the present Director Shipbuilding at MDL.
At the very outset, let me thank IMF for giving me this distinct honor and privilege to be part of this seminar and also take this session. I'm deeply aware that we are running out of time. Two sessions which are very difficult is one immediately after the lunch and the other one before the vote of thanks. So I'm privileged to do the latter. And my The theme of the talk is integrated construction experience in MDL in IC. Primary focus is to squeeze time, and even in this presentation, I am forced to do the same. And I'll be doing a disservice if I don't make one mention about my ex-CMD who is seated here, Vice Admiral S.K. Krishnan, Chairman and Managing Director, who was with MDL. And who has mentored a lot of young people in our shipyard with his sterling and excellent leadership. I also privileged to be associated with the session chair for many years now, and it's my privilege. So I'm cutting all frills. Even the first slide does dance like this. So straight away into introduction, I'll not spend much time. MDL as on date has delivered around 800 ships since its inception, 240 being exports. 25 being capital warships, including submarines and destroyers and frigates. And the whole purpose of this presentation is to paint in broad strokes MDL's experience in integrated construction in P17 a project. Most of you are aware that we are having two projects, major projects in hand. The surface shipbuilding one is 315B, which is tracing the conventional method of construction, and P17A, which is the integrated construction, which is a state-of-the-art approach. And I am privileged to head both. So just overview, maybe a couple of seconds on the complexity of warship building. There are primarily four components: the design, the procurement, the build or the construction, and then the coordination. What is important here is it's the spiral. Probably in a merchant ship, it can be a linear straight line. So that means you have to revisit again and again. It's an iterative process, and that's where the whole catch is. So I don't have time to explain all the elements, but I think it's self-explanatory with the spiral nature of the entire, womb to tomb, as we say it. So in traditional construction, this is how it normally goes. You can see this is where we start. The steel cutting starts here as we progress with the functional design. So basically, if you see these three arrows, it are telescopic in nature. In fact, that is where we lose the time. And in fact, if we want to build ships with a shorter duration, we need to completely change our approach. In Europe, if a French frigate can be built in 60 years, why in India we are taking 68 months? Why in India it's taking 100 months? So this was the question which Navy as well as the shipyard was wondering some years back. And that's why when we decided to go for integrated construction in P17 project. So it has to radically transform the entire spectrum of activities in a shipyard, from detailed design, the build strategy, detailed design and procurement, re-engineering, how the data is managed, and construction methodology. The illustrious speaker prior me has covered almost all the aspects of integrated construction. I will not dwell much, but to put the thing in perspective, design, build strategy, construction, and outfitting are the four pillars of which the building is resting. And in traditional, it is telescopic, but in the approach of IC, we are going to concurrent. Sequential has to be made into parallel, and what we used to do as unit, we need to do at the block level. And instead of doing system erections in the afloat condition, we have to do it at the block level itself. So this is the actual screenshot of our build strategy for P17A project. The ship is divided into 29 blocks, and you can see the ship here is placed like this, and blockwise timelines have been projected. And this is the same build strategy we are following with GRSE, our sister shipyard, where 3 ships are being built. So this is the actual pictures, how we were doing it in the past, how it is today. This is the actual picture of the P17A block, which is right now on the slipway. So this is the distinct advantage of integrated construction. This shows the time, this shows the cost, and the whole magic is to enhance, do it early in the build cycle of the ship, so that we can save on time. This slide is a very important slide that can speak volumes, but because of lack of time, I'm just moving to the next slide. So the conventional construction faces path where you have extra time and time is taken, whereas in integrated construction, you can use the time, you can put the project to the left. So that's the whole advantage. So when we decided to go ahead, there were two options: do it on our own and or take help. And we decided we need help. And Navy also was keen that we need to go outside for help. And that's why that's how we finally ended up in appointing Fincantieri Italy as the know-how partner for technology upgradation. So with Fincantieri, what we did is we tried to work on all these aspects. The first thing we did was a gap analysis to see what are the gaps between conventional construction and the integrated construction. Accordingly, some infrastructure had to be upgraded, like painting booth, etc. I give one example. Then manpower was trained. Then detailed design had to be tweaked for IC. Then the IC is riding on a backbone known as the extended work breakdown structure. If I had time, I would have dwelt more on that, but I am skipping that. Then finally, the construction and the data management and stealth management and weight management also came out as the fringe benefit of this exercise with our experience with Fincantieri. So one in the gap, what came out was the palletization. So we never used the pallets for this thing, which L&D has called as kitting. The same thing. So kitting is a very key concept, and infrastructure. One of the major things which you have to do to introduce the paint booth in the shop itself. Then domain experts provided training work for both the Indian Navy and the shipyards, and we also mastered the art of detailed design for IC in the process. So, as I said, ESWBS based planning, because we have typically three components in ESWBS: the product data, the activity, and the workshop or the work center in which it is carried out. These three things actually completely defines both the product as well as the activities. So the approach is basically to maximize outfitting. And these are actual pictures of this block. And what is important is, I think this is the core thing here. We need two things if integrated construction has to be a success story. One is we need to have a fairly good level of design maturity that puts pressure on the Navy. Secondly, we need to have a good maturity of inventory that puts pressure on the shipyard. That means only if the Navy and the shipyard works in tandem, integrated construction can be a reality. So let me tell you very frankly, we missed integrated construction in first phase. Why? Primarily, I'm not blaming here anyone, because Navy continued with the telescopic design. We also continued with our traditional procurement process. But from second, third, fourth in fact is becoming full-blown IC. So second and third, we are calling it as LIC, nothing to do with Life Insurance Corporation, low IC. So that is how we went ahead. So stealth management, because of management of the stealth signature and the detailed design and the installation, the nuances associated with at the block level itself or the unit level has to be taken care. And weight management is a big issue because we need to control the weight center at the construction. So product life cycle management, one of the components of Industry 4.0, as Commander Nathan has brought out in his presentation as well, we have implemented in our shipyard. And another important challenge is how to get into a secure data exchange where the data has to be traded off between MDL, GRSC, DND, and Italy. And we had to put a, where the cyber security was a challenge, we had to put a completely fail-safe data exchange in place. So these are the various aspects which we have to focus, and we have fine-tuned design for IC. The procurement maturity. It is almost 1 year since I've taken as director shipbuilding. One of the first things which I have done is to downsize the thickness of the purchase manual. With that, we try to accelerate the procurement process. Of course, with compliance with all the rules which are around us. And the vendor-based development, because morning we had a very interesting session on the cost items. The demon lies in the details. a nut or a flange or something, a bulkhead fitting can in fact completely hold into hostage the complete construction progress. Then the role of warship design bureau, decision making is a must, because the professional director is under a different flag officer, and D&D or the warship defined bureau is under another officer. So all these issues are there. So needed a fast track decision making in the whole thing. So we being at the delivery end normally takes the brunt of it, but all the stakeholders need to work in unison for realizing this common dream. And now let me tell you, if you get one more order of P-78 or let us say the 8th ship, we can do it full integrated construction with timelines, cost lines, and the quality matching or above par with the global standards. So the future is IC can give rich dividends in terms of reduced bill period. Of course, that is the primary intent and purpose of doing this. MDL is capable of meeting the timelines, and radical paradigm shift is required in both the mindset and action of all the stakeholders. Design cannot proceed in the traditional manner. Our procurement process cannot move in that manner. Vendors cannot behave in the traditional manner. If all these three important stakeholders radically change their approach and mindset, even in our country, what is happening in the developed world can become a reality. And I end my talk with a quote from Robin Sharma, the famed book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Happiness comes through good judgment. Good judgment comes through experience. Experience comes through bad judgment. And we have done both bad judgments and good judgments. We had good experience and bad experience. And ultimately, I think we all will have happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also the time for discussion. So now we really have some good and healthy discussion.
So may I invite questions?
Yes, now.
Yes.
Yes, please.
My question is to Director Shipbuilding MDL. Sir, very nice presentation. First of all, I'd like to compliment the quality presentation and the points which have been very, very enriching. I would like to know, sir, what is your evaluation of reduction and build period? And also, what is the cost implication of going in for such a kind of construction? So I think it is the first time India is being attempted. So would you like to share your experience?
Minus the cost which you have spent for the know-how provider. That aside, as we let us say, as a one-time capital investment for the capability building. So that has to be, so that will have to be factored in costing. But keep that aside, I don't think there is any other cost implication. It's only tweaking our procedures, tweaking our procedures and processes, and making it more efficient. That so time periods can be reduced. And moment we every day is costly. If the ship is getting delayed by 1 day. See, I'll tell you the current example. Our ship is the ship which is at the advanced stage of delivery is having around 600 people on board. Let us say it is delivered today. That 600 people can be redeployed elsewhere. Why the 600 people are required is mainly to basically to maintain the system to keep it in shape. May not be 600, may not be required. We can slightly cut down, but and the expense associated with that. So because of the too many systems and the preservations and the routines which have all that is required. So that way it is costly. The earlier we deliver it is a win-win situation. So how to reduce the construction period, and this has to happen at the initial stage. So it is like missing bus. I would put it as the 3-stage. We call it as S3, S5, and S7. If you miss S3, we'll have to postpone it to S5. If you miss that, it will go to S7. The moment it goes to S7, the attendant benefits is lost. It becomes, it gets approximated to conventional construction. Earlier you can do it. For earlier to doing it, you need to have a fully, if I can use the word fully pregnant pallet. If the pallet is empty, you cannot outfit it. How the pallet will become full It's only with design maturity and procurement maturity, including the cost items. So that is how.
So what is the appreciation of the timeline?
Timeline, I said the contract timeline is 60 months for a frigate. Conventional was much more. Yeah, around. So 72. I'm talking about the contract, not the actual. Actually, it's a different story. But so there is around 12 months to 1 to 1.5 years in a frigate and a destroyer perspective.
Yes.
I can only say that we've been hearing this morning
About finance.
that the best saver
The finance cost.
other than the labor we can save. That will be quite a
Sizable saving.
and especially at our interest rates, it means quite a sizable. Anyone else? So if there are no questions, I'll attempt to sum up. We had three serious, I would say, professional presentations in this session. Nathan obviously talked about far more of how to take it to the industry 4.0, called the shipbuilding 4.0. This is the process through which there are some amazing results which have been achieved. Of course, he didn't talk about the results, but what exactly is done in terms of the process. Scientific of a vessel, horizontally as well as vertically, and both you actually can do and start fitting out at each individual level, depending on the final assembly level craneage. And that's essentially which truly delivers enormously good benefits in terms of cycle time. For an OPV class, in this shipyard, we had 18.5 months of build time of a vessel, 2,140 tons to be precise. So it's something which is quite different than what otherwise it would take in a sequential kind of a manner. Every pipe and every cable you can pre-cut with a code, and the code essentially is all that needs to be read before it is fitted out. So entire process is digital. We heard presentations from CSL, and that reminded me, since morning we've been talking of exports. It was surprising to hear that 50 vessels have been exported. In case of Placentobro, I can tell you we exported to 8 countries till date. So it's not that it is not there. The issue primarily to my mind is the expensive vessels are not the ones which we are able to export. So percentage of our total order book to what is exported is small, but there are very large number of vessels getting exported, but they're chiller. Because what truly opened up for competition is only chiller. If there's small things which are allowed to be exported, to be built in the country in a competitive mode, only that will get exported. And that's essentially where you see an enormous amount of difference of what you have a track record. The buyer doesn't want to come to you for your capabilities. He comes to you for your track record. And with the track record, you actually have delivered, as I said. In terms of number of vessels, I probably would add to somewhere around 25 vessels we must have exported till date, nothing less than that. And it's less than 10 years of operation we are talking of. So that's essentially the scenario of what we start seeing. Of course, Biju talked about the same animal in little different words in terms of rather than calling it the 4.2, calling it the integrated shipbuilding. I remember the good old days for what Biju talked about is what we call the concurrent engineering. Everything getting concurrent, and believe me, when you do any concurrency, there is a spiral. And the spiral is precisely where you keep back and forth a movement. But the fact is, we actually have experienced people doing it. One gains enormously in terms of time. And good challenge to keep. I can tell you out of my own experiences of having done hundreds and hundreds of programs of different kinds, including the shipbuilding. You can truly target 50% time. You may not achieve it. first, second, third, fourth time you may not achieve it, but you actually can achieve 50% saving
in time.
That's essentially what you will achieve. So when you actually do good amount of concurrency, good amount of spirals operating. Before we close the session, I thought since morning there is a lot of debate in terms of what has been going on, and I want to share just 3 slides towards the end of the day.
For thought.
So what we see in Indian shipbuilding,
And there's something starting from
Admiral Deshpande when he spoke in the morning, what we actually have seen is precisely 2 decades of having having truly allowed the private sector into defense production. 2000 to 2010, the first decade did not see a single RFP. And I'm so happy. Admiral Deshpande actually talked about the enormous amount of debate and say, should we open up, should we not open up? And 2005 is the first RFP that came to private sector for participation. But it stayed only at auxiliaries. Now, what you notice is the competitive programs entire decade was 3,500 crore and 76,800 crores of programs remained by choice. The yard to whom it is being given. Now, obviously, you can't expect anything wonderful to happen with that, and this is exactly when you had enormous amount of issues going on in the global market. So why shipbuilding remained the way it remained today? To my mind, we couldn't foresee that if the global shipbuilding scenario is dramatically slowed down, there should have been a little more proactiveness. If not the government, Navy was always constructing, and Navy possibly could have done a difference. When I say Navy, Coast Guard included. If you look at the second decade, you suddenly see a substantial amount of difference. Now, another matter of detail on the slide is this 3,500 crore is 90 vessels. Now, that's something very interesting. That is what I talked about when I started talking about the chiller. This is where the chiller is. So the 90 vessels being delivered for 3,500 crore and 56 vessels getting delivered for 77,000 crores. And this is sheer statistics. I'm not adding any Mirchi Masala. Now, on the second decade, you see 110,000 crores of nominated orders versus 27,000 crore of. You see sudden change. There's some realization that something needs to be done. There's a 20% which is competitive, and of course that is 156%. The ratio remains. Large amount of work has gone in, but that is not something which can be counted in percentage numbers in value. Why we talk of 0.4% of order book? I thought, let me pull in. And after he spoke, I actually pulled in because the data is ready. You only have to pull in. Now, this is precisely where the God is in details. The God actually says, yes, we are allowing. Now, your statistician would say, we are allowed 250 vessels to be built in competitive mode. But that doesn't speak the entire truth. All of it is 30,000 crores versus much larger number, which has happened in the country. Next. Whole lot of reforms. When we talk of way ahead, there are a whole lot of reforms which have indeed happened. The auxiliary vessels actually were opened up somewhere around 2005. This is the era at which we have seen dollar move from 40 to about 60 over a very short period. Anybody who had an order, trust me, lost nothing less than 40%, 30 to 40%. So that's the dollar part. And the biggest contributor to that was the BNE. Now the BNE necessarily, a lot of it came in the form of foreign currency, and that foreign currency necessarily meant a loss because no competitive program ever was getting a foreign exchange rate variation. Now this is essentially what our history is, and that's where I tried to capture over 7-8 points. What are those major milestones wherein we see the market to be truly open today for competitive position? FERV was allowed first in 2011. And that was only if you were bidding for a buy global project. And there are buy global projects Indian shipyard won in global competition. We ourselves won a project which was of 54 vessels. So the buy global, if the project was won by a foreigner who was an L2, we would have paid him 100% more because the dollar changed. Because it was done by an Indian company, nothing was paid. So I'm talking of each of those reform positions when it actually happened and link it to what we need to be doing going forward. The FERV was completely allowed in 2060 for any and every program. So government realized that what is happening was not right and needs to be corrected. And that's essentially where under any category of acquisition, this is one realization that came in, and we have seen dollar change from 60 to 70, roughly 70 to 73, and more or less stabilized. And then recently, obviously, touched about 80. But the situation is when we have nearly 40-50% of import content, especially in the major vessels, the content becomes much higher. These are basic covers which are needed, which came as a part of the enormous amount of debate and discussion which has been led with the government of India's involvement, including, of course, the Navy as well as the ministry. And a lot of these reforms today are in place. The BNE cost was thought to be something which vitiates the entire game. And that's where the one more, I would say, reform during the 2018-19 period was to take out the BNE. And what Admiral Deshpande spoke in the morning, no private sector was winning. This is one thing we started making private sector win. So the efficiency of building what you are paid for your work, that efficiency was able to win projects of private sector. The BNE was the one which was a differentiator. It came out, and this is where somebody actually can study program by program, policy reform by policy reform. And I think for a think tank, this is something which is absolutely right place to do that kind of research and some amount of work. Obviously, in 2020, the chapter 3B, as it was known at that point in time, said the nomination will not only be of PSU, it will be allowed to anybody. Any shipyard can be nominated, or you have an equal footing when it comes to nomination if it is to be considered whether public or private. Level playing field, obviously, there are some amount of gaps, more because of some of the baggage in terms of the ownership aspect. I'm not bringing a shipyard, but the ownership aspect hangover is still remains in the MOD. And of course, in this period, we actually see a good amount of PPP happening. I remember when as Dasakutu and JRSU were talking about the relationship, one question Admiral Saxena had for me. He said, sir, after you get your order, will you stop my work? Or you will delay my ship because you have your own work. And I said, I have my work to you. Your ship will go precisely the way it is planned, as long as we have inputs coming in. We will have parallel kind of an organization because the shipyard we obviously have can build at any point in time at least 20 vessels. The capacity is far larger than what actually we have in terms of work. And that's essentially where I truly believe if we were to go forward, the way ahead is in partnerships. I don't mean that the partnership can happen after winning an order, which is the case in case of DRSC contract. After DRSC wins, yes, there's a scenario that capacity may be up again. We were also having enormous amount of capacity of going up again. And we approach saying that why don't you order it on us? But truly, a PPP must start in terms of a strategic teaming before bidding, because the efficiency enhancement that one can contribute will come into the bid. And that's where the man in uniform will actually do a saving. He'll accrue a saving out of those efficiencies rather than the other way. So I believe truly going forward is going to be in the form of making some of the relationships actually into strategic tie-ups. We heard a lot of words today from speakers about JV, about teaming and those kind of things. if we are serious, we need to truly have this in place. We actually have some issues about it, because I can tell you in 2012, there was a joint venture.
Which BL and Alonso signed.
Indian is obviously here. But the scenario is, after the JV was entered into, the CVO asked, how will you give him any work? He must compete with any vendor. Now, if we have to compete as a JV with any vendor, why do I need a JV? The JV is not going to create this infrastructure. So some of these fundamentals are missed out at the time of sometimes when we debate this bigger and bigger picture, bigger points. And that's essentially where it needs to be put in place. The same CVC policy also says if you have a pre-bid tie-up, this doesn't affect you. And that's exactly where I come from. We need those relationships in place if we want cost savings, if we want efficiency, if we actually want to work together. And distribute work, only one who benefits is the ultimate customer, because he gets it faster, he gets it cheaper. I thought I'll take just about 2-3 minutes to tell you about we currently someone who was selected in UK after 22 global shipyards participated in the global competition. We are at the last phase of decision being made. So don't quote me anywhere, but about 1 month from now, we'll know whether we have won it or we lost it. But the scenario is there are 3 shipyards out of 22 who were picked up. And the experience that we went through in this process, I actually want to take it as a piece, as way forward, where your reforms can go in terms of truly partnering with the shipyard. Next slide. So the process essentially starts with an RFI, and that's where we had 22 yards participating. Based on what all enormous amount of interactions that happened, we obviously had a stage at which they say we are now shortlisting. They decided to shortlist 4 out of 22. These 4 out of 22 were then paid. Mark my word, they were paid for doing what is called the bid design. Now, the bid design you do is a paid design, and the moment it is paid design, the user actually can demand enormous amount of details, and he has clarity in terms of what he is getting. Now, this relates on the next slide when I move forward, because 56% of the evaluation weightage is how good your design is, what flexibility it allows. Can you do multiple roles? Have you built in some of those features? Have you actually given me a vessel which is the best of every parameter? Because every shipbuilding or every ship design is a matter of compromise. I mean, all of us as designers know that there is nothing like everything can be best. It's a matter of compromise. Now, if within the compromise, what is that overall solution? Out of 100 marks, which are used for placement of contract, 56 belongs to this design, and that's why it is paid. It's a paid design. Based on that, obviously, enormous amount of discussions continue during this entire design phase of about 9 to 12 months. Every month there is an interaction. So there's no surprise in terms of what this vessel is going to have. There's no surprise. Now, enormous amount of maturity that gets built in before the contract is awarded. Now, relate to what Riju talked about in terms of maturity of the design and maturity of actually taking it to a full 3D. But everything is happening on full 3D. Now, this is where you truly put in a full-fledged Industry 4.0 scenario, and it can do wonders. Now, this is precisely what we are seeing in this place. And as a result, huge number of parameters get evaluated at that design stage. And then the last phase says, now you can bid. So you actually say a price. If your price is 1 rupee higher than the reserve price, your bid is rejected. Because there's good amount of maturity which has come into a learning. So there's a cost which has been estimated, given by the user, and the user says, I believe this is a fair price. Now, the contrary to this, the other point is, if you say that I will somehow do it in that price and want to win the contract, you have to prove that you make profits. If you don't make profits, you are rejected. So the flip side is, I don't want, as Ministry of Defense, you to lose your money. Because if you lose money, next time you are not going to be there. So that's a maturity of one of the maritime country into that level of having controlled the whole world, that their maturity of the process saying, I want you to make money. Third point, they can reject you is if you don't have good green practices. So some other talked a lot about the green practices. Now, this is essentially where the world is moving. This is where people who say they want to ensure on any given day of the shipbuilding program, you have a surplus cash at hand than what you have spent. And this is how the payment stages are structured. Because if you're actually borrowing, the government realizes that I'm the one who's paying it. It's not the shipyard who is paying it. Who pays? Who pays the cost of capital? Ultimately, it's the customer who pays the cost of capital. On one project, somebody else may pay. But in long run, it's always the customer who pays. There's a maturity of process. You must make profit. You must make good practices. You must also have a good design. Based on this, next slide. You actually see the commercial clauses or the commercial conditions or your actual price out of 100 has a weightage of 19. 12 and 6. I give you a breakup also. 13 and 6. 13% is a weightage. We heard, I think Ma'am was saying about, or somebody else said, unless the weightage on technical parameters is 80%, I will not even pay. Here's the weightage, which is 13%. So your price bid has a weightage of 13%, 81%, 13 plus 6, having gone out of 9, that 100. 81% is for what is the value proposition. So the entire shipbuilding game is changed into win-win because it's the value, not the price getting talked about. And with this, there's only one condition on the price. Are you below or you're above? Now imagine what incentivization it will do to a shipbuilding industry to truly revive the shipbuilding. The moment we start talking about policies, we heard comments of I think Commodore Khatri was talking about, we only go by rules. So you don't need rules when you have a policy
in place.
And the policy assures next 30 years of work. Listed down programs for 30 years, and there's a book, you can buy it, you can go download it. Go to a shipbuilding office, there's a national shipbuilding office created. Incidentally, since we are talking about all this, national shipbuilding office has been created at the behest of the Prime Minister 2 years back. Mandate given to national shipbuilding offices beyond whether it's Navy, commercial, whosoever, or the auxiliaries, Royal Auxiliaries, all of them are controlled finally by that one office, and this is one office which is saying, I have a 30 years of visibility. I'll tell you what 30 years visibility is. Now invest. Invest in better ways of doing it. I will incentivize you. Now, this is the process which I thought, and when I first time talked about this couple of months back to the Defense Secretary as well as to CNS as well as Vice Chief, they said this is something amazing. If there's somebody who can do this. So what all problems we talked of during the entire day, I see that there are other countries who seem to be evolving, thinking new things. And why did they do it? UK today has a track record of 100% of projects going beyond schedule. Every project has a cost overrun. And that's essentially where 2 years, 3 years back, they decided they're going to start every major program subject to anything which is a repeat contract will go on a nomination basis. Every new contract will go competitive. It's a national thinking to say, I need to make my industry to to a next level of technology, next level of way of doing things. And that's where the upper price cap comes in. If you bid above, you are not there. But you have a mandate to prove you make profits. So it's something which is far more an evolved process. I thought before I stop speaking today, I thought I'll speak about this because that's essentially where I see. We heard the Chinese model, more of commercial shipbuilding. We heard the Korean model, more of again commercial shipbuilding. Here's a model for military. I'm ensuring you have no working capital cost. As Ministry of Defense, I'm ensuring you make profit. Because if you don't make profit, you will not be paid. You'll walk out. Someday you will walk out. So that's essentially where the process maturity. I thought it's worthwhile on when we're speaking about way ahead on shipbuilding, makes sense to record that, talk about it in a forum of this kind. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.